I started a very technical company with no technical background. Every single one of them told me not to do this. I'm going to be me. I'm going to build a business that is different. I can help teach the business components. There's no way you can teach grit.
Welcome to More Than the Hype, the podcast where we go beyond the surface, beyond the trends, and straight into real, unfiltered conversations about business. I'm your host, Kristin Taylor. Grab a glass of wine from K2 Winery, or water because moisture is important, and let's get into it. Because success is more than just the hype. Hi, Paige.
Hi, Kristin.
Welcome to More Than the Hype. Thanks for being my guest.
Of course. Happy to.
Your story of starting PSG is wild.
Yep.
And I have a lot of questions, even as one of your friends. But can you tell people this journey from North Carolina
Yep.
to here? What was going on in your family life and why you decided to start a company where you have no technical background in?
That is
it
probably
sounds like a wild thing, right?
It is. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing, that I started a very technical company with no technical background.
Yeah.
But I've been in tech my whole career. So I started in software sales. I was in tech for 7-8 years before I decided to do my own thing. I was working for a company out in Raleigh. And the coolest part was I had sort of grown up with the company. We started at $1 million and we ended up at $160 million. And it was a wild ride. I learned so much, but yet I still had this deep down desire to go do it on my own. And so I initially told the owner of the company that I wanted to leave, and he asked me for 18 months of a notice period. And I was like, that's a bit aggressive.
18 months?
18 months is what he asked me, because I had done everything from ground up.
Oh, he couldn't lose
you. We needed to find replacements. We needed to find, all kinds of stuff. So then we decided we would buy a company together. So we went on this journey to buy a firm. And so I started looking in Denver. Long story short, found a firm that we wanted to buy here, made an offer. December 26th of 2016, the woman came back and said, I need double. And I was like, well, your business isn't worth double. So I now rescind my offer to purchase you. And then I honestly looked at my wife and I was like, what do we have to lose? And her answer was everything, and we'll rebuild. And so I started the company on paper 23 days later. So it was January of 17. And we ended up buying a house out here in Colorado, selling our house in North Carolina. We found out we were pregnant with our twins the day before we left with the turtle top on the top of the car. And we moved out to Colorado. So we got here the end of March, so 40 some odd days. And I started the company April 3rd of 2017.
What a ride. I wasn't even there. In my mind, I'm trying to imagine what that.
It was a ride.
So you have what I like to call extreme mental fortitude, because that is so many shaken foundations at the same time. Tell me about your early childhood life. Tell me about how you were raised, where you grew up, because somehow this person formed that could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas.
Exciting town?
No. I basically told them the only way I'm ever going back is if that's where the assholes decide to bury me. So other than that, no, I mean, it was great, right? I didn't know any different, but really, I think early on, I played sports all my life. My family was known in the area. My dad had several companies. My grandparents had companies. My aunts and uncles had companies. And so I grew up in an entrepreneurial world. The crazy part was then every single one of them told me not to do this, because not very many of them had done it successfully. And so I think they were scared, they were nervous. And so I think that put a bug in my ear, basically, of telling me I can't, which is probably exactly why I did it. But, playing sports. And then probably the biggest impact was at 16. My stepdad and my mom and my two sisters and I moved from Wichita, Kansas to Boca Raton, Florida. So I was a junior in high school. I had left everything I had known, moved to a place that was so different, and sort of started all over again. So I've kind of done it 3 times, right? Then to Florida when I went to college in North Carolina, and then out here in Colorado. And so I think it's just part of who I am, is that you just show up and do what you got to do.
I love that. And then you found a wife who actually had the same mentality.
Yeah.
Or to support you? Or?
To support me. I think she just had enough confidence in the two of us together that it was let's just do it. What are we, what are we waiting for? And really, I think that was the moment where we both kind of looked at each other and were like, we can do this. we can do this. And the fact that we're still married and our kids are 7 now, our twins are 7
Right.
is
a testament.
She's the best.
Yes, we love her.
She's the best.
So, okay, now fast forward again. Why tech? Why did you go into tech in the first place from your 9 to 5? And then why stay with it? Like, give me the real reason. Is it money? Is it's interesting, it's booming? Like,
no, I mean, yeah, there's money in tech. Yes, it's a ever-changing industry. I sort of like the change. I think I thrive on the chaos. I know I thrive on the chaos. But, this was an industry that I could be different. This was an industry that didn't have a lot of people that looked like me, didn't have a lot of people that had the background I had. And I knew when I started in tech that it was a challenge and I wanted the challenge, but also I wanted the opportunity for other people behind me to say, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I've had this clearly chip on my shoulder most of my life. Clearly this prove it mentality. And if you tell me I can't or won't, that's sort of what comes next as I try to do just that. And so I think honestly, Kristin, the development of tech, we need more people, right? Mm-hmm. People that look like you, people that look like me, people that have both of our backgrounds, to go in and show what's possible with a different lens, right? I look at technology completely different than a technologist or an engineer. Mm-hmm. Like I look at it as, what are we doing to impact? What are we doing to change? What are we doing to sort of move things forward? And when I stand on a stage or I'm talking here, like that's the last thing people expect to come out of my mouth is that I own a cybersecurity firm and a defense contractor.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't even talk about what you own.
Well, fine. But I think that's the cool part, right? I think that's the cool part is that they're like, wait a second. I would have never expected a defense contractor and a cybersecurity firm. And so I think that's the opportunity with tech. Now, do I want to always be in tech? Maybe, maybe not. I think there will always be a component of technology in what I do.
You were saying just like how on stage, how you talk and people get shocked. One other thing I think people get really shocked about when you're on stage is how much you lead with numbers.
Yeah.
And how like that is your safe spot, which is super, I like to think it's more uncommon in the entrepreneur space for women.
Yeah.
Right. Like we may know our numbers, but there's still some like hesitancy there. Or the people who are super brains with numbers maybe don't go the entrepreneurial route. Like that's a really big passion of yours, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the numbers tell a story and they don't lie. And so, as much as we can hype things up, as much as people get excited about opportunities and deals, at the end of the day, for me, it's show me the numbers and I'll follow. Show me what we can do. I've been doing this long enough with a financial sort of back end that, without the numbers, you're sort of just a pipe dream. And every single person that's ever come to me and said, invest in the company, right? Or I have an idea or whatever it may be. My first question is, who's the customer? And what the hell are they going to pay you for whatever you're offering? And if you don't know those two things, it's really just a thought and an idea. And I think people that understand the dynamics of finance and numbers inside of their business can do a lot more faster.
I think we were at Tara and some woman asked you, what is EBITDA? That was one of the times where I was like, oh, I really like this woman. I love how you answered it. And it wasn't like condescending. It wasn't rude. It was just, let me tell you, let me share because it's so important. Do you want to tell the people what EBITDA is real quick? It's one of my favorite things that you've done.
Well, and I'll comment on that because I think when somebody has the courage to ask a question like that, you want to really, I think, encourage more people to do it. But one, there's no, what does she gain or they gain or he gain if I'm like, oh, you don't know and you run a business? Like that does nothing for a business owner, right? So, I mean, it's earnings before, and then there's a long, but really, I think people need to focus most on how to create their numbers and what their numbers are telling them and how to adjust them on the fly, right? How to run sort of rolling forecasts and all that type of stuff. So yes, do I want people to know what EBITDA means? Yes. But I want them really more so to know how it impacts their business and how they get to drive more EBITDA. I mean, listen, I've said so often, and I've invested in KT Winery, and EBITDA is sexy.
EBITDA is so sexy.
Money is sexy. And when you have
sexy, profitable business,
when you have money at your EBITDA line, that's a good thing. And I personally think that we need to start talking more and more about profitable businesses and celebrating them and people that are running positive EBITDA companies. It's hard to do, right? It's easy to lose money. It's hard to make money. And so I think people need to really focus on those being sexy businesses and working together to create more of them.
And you're coming from a real interesting place right now because you have a big sexy business and you hit a big sexy number, actually.
I did.
Yes. Do you want to talk? Do you want me to say it? Do you want to say it?
You could say it. You
hit $10 million in revenue.
I did.
10 plus.
10 plus. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That was a huge, I think you and I talked about this. That was a huge milestone for me.
Huge.
You know, when I started the company, it was sort of just a prove it, go, build. I mean, diapers are expensive. I had 2 of them coming. Like, these are real life things. But once I sort of started to see the trajectory that the company could go on, 10 million looked really enticing and really exciting because not a lot of women-owned businesses make it. And so I wanted to do it not for me, not for the, sitting here in a chair saying, look at me, I've made $10 million. It's that, again, people behind can say, well, it's just a number. I'm going to go get it, right? It was 1 million and then it was 5. Okay, more and more companies are hitting 5 and now 10. And next for me, I think, is 20. And that's super sexy because what 20 million does, honestly, from a revenue perspective, 1, it puts us on the map to be bought.
Yep.
But 2, I think, it's jobs, it's opportunity, it's investment, right? There's a lot of things that I think come from that.
100%. And I think, and I may misquote this, but 92% of women-owned businesses never hit $1 million in revenue.
Yeah, ever in their history.
In their history. So just conglomerate years, which when you think the fact that you did 10 in a year, it really shows the staying power of PSG, right?
Yeah.
I think, and obviously as we look at KT Winery and we're growing this business, $20 million is that marker for certain industries. And wine is one of them. Tech is another. And it's funny, though, because I'm starting to see the tide change, and we were talking about it for years. It's like more and more investors, more and more acquirers, more and more PE firms are realizing that the money well does dry up. So you can't just continuously feed the beast.
Nope.
You need to have someone bringing in dollars to fill that bottom line. And that's where that big, sexy acquisition comes in. Yeah. Because you have that big, sexy EBITDA.
Big, sexy EBITDA. And, your earnings before, right? If you're managing it well, it will naturally even more so fall to the bottom line, right? The actual net income. And you got your tax and et cetera, right? Amortization. So, but the bottom line, yes, powerful. But your EBITDA number is really what you're riding on. And that's where a lot of these companies, especially mine in the services industry, that's the value, right? Your value is off of your EBITDA number and it's an EBITDA multiple. And so I think more and more people need to focus there versus just top line. Again, as this is coming out of my mouth, I'm like, yeah, $10 million is sexy from a top line. But what's even more sexy is how much we can take to the bottom line.
1,000%. We want to know what's actually in the bank account.
Yeah.
Not in your accounts payable.
Or receivable, because that just means you haven't been paid yet.
Yeah,
and that sucks.
That's not exciting. Yeah. No. As someone who's been there before, we changed our business model, though. But, we had 80% of our income in receivables for a year.
Yeah. It's shitty.
It will hurt.
Yeah, and it impacts cash flow, it impacts investment, it everything.
Company culture.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Because now you're hiring people, you're getting them bought in on the mission, and there's nothing coming in.
Yep.
They're not seeing the
I promise I'll pay you.
So, okay, diving into culture. I think for you, culture is really important.
Critical.
Because of your personality.
Yep.
And also because of how hard you guys have to work.
Yep.
To hit these big, sexy EBITDA numbers.
Yep.
How do you cultivate culture? And I will give you the background. I think as founders, we talk about culture so much and people say, what's your culture like? And, oh, yeah. But I've been to Dish. I worked at Dish Network. I worked at Sling TV. It's different when you have $1 million cultural budget and you can take people on trips and you have all these dinners and you're giving people free iPads and, the culture is whatever.
That's not happening at Point Solutions.
No, but it's still something we talk about. And to me, it's really this ambiguous, amorphous cloud where it's like, okay, but how do you actually create culture? How do you create that heartbeat where it's not just people working asynchronously at the same time? Is it meetings? Is it consistency? Is it gifts? How do you get people to believe so much that they want to create that community?
So for me, it started with just me being me. And I think, for a lot of time in my prior world, I was not me, right? I was pretending to be somebody I wasn't. And when I started to really be myself and sort of just be the vulnerable, transparent, big, saying stupid shit sometimes, I think that allowed other people to kind of take a breath and realize that they could be themselves as well. Right. And so for that's how it started at Point Solutions. It's like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to build a business that is different. I'm going to build an approach in this market that's different. And what I need to do is find people that also believe in being different, that also believe in being real, and, that money is not everything that we're chasing, because it's not money for me. It's never been money. And so it's, how can we continue to do things a little bit different? And, I stumbled along the way. I made some really bad decisions around culture. I hired people thinking that it was going to make it go faster. And faster was not better at that point. I had some people take advantage of me. I had some just crappy moments along the way. But I think now where we're truly leaning into like who we are, my office is fun. Like, there's basketballs flying, there's some like game of horse and pig, and there's records that are held on our walls.
Why have I never been invited?
You should. I mean, there's wine and beer in the fridge. And it's not just about wine and beer and basketballs, right? It's about like, yeah, we're going to work hard. We have to. I have high expectations, and I've told my team, I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I myself wouldn't do. And so if I'm willing to do this, and I'm willing to sort of put myself out there, I'm going to expect the same thing. And so we work hard, but we also play hard. And I think people now are starting to see that we can do this and be different. Mm-hmm. We can gain customers and traction and money and revenue and all that and be different. And that's been fun.
Different is so interesting right now in this DEI climate. And it's something I got asked the other day at Total Wine headquarters, which was some fun, by the way. It's as fun as it sounds.
We share a common client.
We do share a common client. We love billing them. And it was, how are you planning to continue your sales being a Black woman-owned winery? And my answer was something I heard a couple of years ago, which is, well, no, we're a great winery that happens to be. And that's exciting and that's wonderful, but that's not the reason to believe.
Agree. Completely.
How do you sell in?
The exact same. Yeah. I'm like, I want to win business because we're the company to do it. I want to win business because we're the best, and we do what we say we are going to do. I think that piece is critical, right? Mm-hmm. Because in this industry, and in tech and a lot of different industries, I'm sure, but there's a lot of people that can have a lot of talk. There's a lot of people that can say things that sound really interesting and exciting, but actually doing the work, actually digging in, actually coming through with what you say you're going to do. I think that's where we've been able to take competition out in ways. I think that's where we've been able to grow faster than we had anticipated. But I say the same thing, was like, work with us because we're the right company. Now, the fact that you may get to check a box because I happen to be a female and I own the company, great.
Sounds awesome.
Perfect. Win-win. But don't look at me and choose us because of that. That's not going to go well for you, and it's not going to go well for us.
As you look at, obviously, your business, I think being an entrepreneur and investing must be such an interesting crux, because the BS people are hiding.
Oh, yeah.
Because what you would be like, oh, I know that's not cute. Mm-hmm. How do you go about, and I know I'm completely switching topics, but kind of talking about that core ethos of like doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing due diligence on potential investments, potential partners or collaborators even?
So for me, and I've been doing this for a long time, funny enough, like I actually got in my first angel investment before I even started my own company. So I had been in it probably 2 or 2.5 years before I even started Point Solutions. So I got into something, and it was a really interesting opportunity early on. By the way, I still have not made my money back on that one. So like that's gotta hurry. It's hitting that 10-year mark. And I'm all right, we gotta go.
Flip it.
But I think, so first, it's something that I believe in, right? And not just whatever the product or the service or the technology, but the humans behind it. And I think, as I'm sitting here with you today, like you are absolutely the reason that I'm in KT Winery. Like I believed in what you're doing. I believe in you, like the grit, the grind, like the core human being is honestly what I look for more than the actual business. I think maybe selfishly or naively in that I think I can help teach the business components. I can't, there's no way you can teach grit. There's no way you can teach, getting punched in the face 15 times and standing back up. Because I know what it's like to be punched 15 times and still stand back up. So if I can look across the way and see that same thing in another human, like I'm much more inclined to at least start the process, right?
Totally.
Now, the finances have to make sense, as we talked about. I'm a numbers person. The investment to the value has to make sense. The trajectory has to make sense.
Right.
You got to actually think about how the hell you're going to get your investors out, right? I mean, these things have to be there, but the core for me is looking at something that I believe in, which I think I've told you, right? Of the 21 investments I've made, 19 have been in women founders.
Right.
And so I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is and saying, like, we're going to return more money. We're going to naturally run really good businesses. Now, will we all grow at 100x? No, but I don't think that's what we need to do.
No.
Right? I really don't. Because if you're returning 5x on your money, if you're returning 7x or whatever it may be, that's a great deal.
It's a great deal.
And I can turn the 7x into 5 more investments, and then we're building the ecosystem. We're building what's next, right? So I think it's the human and then the business, and then I think the total opportunity in the market, and can I have an impact, right?
Definitely. Well, how do you find companies to invest in? How, in the investing world, we call this due diligence. We call this deal flow.
Deal flow. Yep.
So we're talking, and it's funny because an investor is nothing without deal flow.
Mm-hmm.
And founders always get so concerned. Macy and I don't have that. We have no qualms. We don't care.
No.
We're going to put it in front of you. But investors need that to figure out where they're going to place their money.
For sure.
Right? Because you have to have some type of personal ethos around what you're trying to do. How many checks you're trying to cut.
Yep.
How much money.
Yep.
How do you find your deals? Is it through angel groups? Is it through words through friends? I mean, you're also plugged in really hardcore into the Colorado ecosystem.
Yep.
But yeah, tell me about your sourcing.
So initially it was the Colorado ecosystem. So, once you write one angel check, it's sort of like, hey, go call Paige, go call whatever, right? So initially that's how it was. I got connected to people that I trust, and they would sort of behind the scenes, knowing that I had written angel checks before, say, hey, I would like to introduce you. Are you okay? And I really appreciated that sort of double opt-in, if you will, of like, hey, I want to introduce you to this person. Yes, they're seeking money. Are you okay with it? And then once I said yes, then I felt like, okay, this was a mutual understanding of what we were going to talk about, and nobody was out to sort of get you. So initially it was just that. I do have a couple angel groups that I'm a part of. Okay. Deal flow is wild in some of them, like
really?
Way more than I had expected when I got in.
Wow.
There's a group out of New York City called Gangels that I'm a part of, and a tremendous angel network. Big checks. They don't lead. They follow lead investors, but they have syndicates. Excuse me. They bring so tremendous deal flow. Right. Stuff I would have never gotten access to. But it can also be a little overwhelming, right? If you're not in a position to write a check every couple weeks, that can be overwhelming. So I think for my wife and I, and in our sort of current state, we've said we're not really writing a ton of net new angel checks from new companies. We will up our amount within existing companies for rounds and keeping equity and things like that. We'll do some debt financing, which I love to do. And so we'll do some creative things, but not really right now until some of these turn, looking to write net new company checks.
Yes, we need to get some positive EBITDA flowing.
Yeah.
Some acquisitions flowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come on, guys.
So can you give us like a couple of the companies you invested in? If we're trying to support some women-owned companies who are killing it, just give us a couple off the top of your head, other than KT Winery.
KT Winery. Go. I have my daughter, a picture of her with 2 bottles of mom juice. It's epic.
Amazing.
She's 7. So may or may not have been outside of Target when we did it. I
did not take this photo.
Yeah, I did. Yes. I'm very proud of it. And so was she. She had the biggest smile on her face ever.
She was so cute.
So that I think that's fun, stuff like that. There's another group here in Colorado called Serenity Engage. They're a platform to manage elderly care and connecting doctors, connecting caretakers, connecting long-term care facilities all together. Just an amazing female founder, just tremendous. Another wine company actually called Wander and Ivy,
yes,
single serve organic. Dana's amazing. And then a company out of Chicago that I met through another female founder here called Keep With, and they're doing some just amazing things in the network space, learning to network better, managing your networks in a single platform, doing double opt-in connections. I've been working with Megan for a while. Mother of Fact is one out of Boston, but big Colorado connection. Their founder, Emily, is tremendous. I've been alongside of her for a long time, and they're doing on-demand lactation and nutrition consulting for moms. So just some really cool femtech, some cool tech, and then some cool CPG.
I love it. I love your portfolio. It's very you, and I think people should invest where they understand the space.
Totally.
And the best spaces you understand the spaces you use.
Yep.
I think that's a part of due diligence, in my opinion. I would never invest in deep cyber tech because I do not know what that is.
Well, if I need a check, I'll come and ask you.
Heard.
You know me.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah. No, my investments are very different. They're all CPG.
I know.
Because I'm like, oh, I know that profit margin. So, okay, we're getting kind of close to the end because someone was late. It was me. I was late. But I do want to kind of get into some fun things I think people always want to know.
Sure.
Sanity is, to me, like the reason we can keep going is because somehow we're taking care of our minds. I'm very into the idea that just like athletes train their bodies, we have to train our minds. Part of that is training your body as well. What is give me like the boiled down version of your routine. When do you wake up? What are you doing in between? Are you a big skincare person? Like, how are you getting your deep breaths throughout the day?
I didn't used to be a skincare person, but my sister got into it. And so now I'm definitely a skincare person. And I'm about to hit that age. So I had to start doing some things.
We're not that far apart in age, so that was annoying. But go ahead.
It's deep. I played sports in college, so I've been exercising my whole life. Like, I am not a nice human if I am not exercising. So exercise, I just signed up for a half marathon, so I'm training again for the first time in several years.
And using ChatGPT to help train you.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
ChatGPT created my whole training schedule, gave me everything I was doing by day, by time. Like, it's been awesome. I'm a humongous Peloton user, so I got into that during COVID, as a lot of us did. And then I kept at it. Like, their strength workouts, their outdoor. So, and I really appreciate that most of their instructors were not into fitness, and got into it. And I love that. Like, they're just real humans. And I think that's sort of a theme here today.
It's like really important.
I like real humans.
Yeah.
So I do exercise. I wake up around 5:30 or 6. I used to try to work out in the morning, but I was forced to in college. And so now I'm like, that ain't happening. So I read a little, I have my coffee, try to sort of just get my life together before I head into the office. I was sharing with somebody earlier, like, an amazing part of my day is I walk my kids to school every morning. And it gives me this one sense of pride, a sense of community connection. It's like my thing. Each of us have a handshake. So I get to do my handshake with them before they go into school. So that's super important. Like, I've told my team.
That's your non-negotiable.
It's my non-negotiable. Like, don't set a meeting before 9. I won't be there because I'm taking my kids to school. And then, I think from there, it's sort of just flow of the day. And I'm a big advocate of therapy. So I'm in therapy. My son's in OT, so I'm a big advocate of that. And then I have amazing friends, right? I think part of what has allowed me to do what I do is that I can send text messages to you, to Kate, to Aaron, to a number of people and just be like, someone help me. It is a crappy day. Come, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, I'm probably under my desk somewhere. Come find me. Maybe I need wine. I don't know. Bring wine, bring snacks, bring chocolate,
cheese,
something.
I don't know.
But I think it's really important that you have an out with people that are going through the same thing that you can talk to and say, this is hard and I'm not doing okay today. And the geopolitical system right now is challenging me. And I've been very transparent about that. And I think you need to be open and honest about what's going on because it just is what it is. And you got to be able to talk to people.
Well, we've learned, and especially in the last few years, just being a silent warrior, there's no trophy for that. There's no positive that comes from being siloed.
No.
So I think the more that people can be honest and transparent and show what they think are their big ugly parts, and people show them back that it wasn't that ugly. it takes away a lot of that burden, makes you feel a lot less alone.
Totally.
Okay, now we're going to go into rapid fire.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's see if you can do rapid fire.
Okay.
We'll see. Okay, what was your first significant leadership lesson? This could be anything from like 4 years old to now.
Always be the hardest worker.
Love that. Okay. So
Early.
I guess you can do rapid fire. My gosh. What has been your biggest inspiration in your career? Or who?
I used to say my grandma, who was had 3 kids by the time she was 20, didn't graduate high school, and was a financial analyst for Boeing. Badass woman.
Yeah.
So she was that for a long time. I think now my inspiration is my kids, and really being somebody that they can see that you can do anything you want to do.
What trend in emerging tech gets you excited?
We were talking about it earlier, quantum.
Mm.
It's a leap. You know, I thought AI was a big one. Quantum's massive.
And if you could just add a little more to what quantum is for the people.
Yeah, I mean, quantum is it's a physics, right? And I think a lot of people put quantum compute, but you have quantum lots of things. And it's a game changer in the way that we think about the world.
To be seen. I'm excited. Okay. Recommend a book, a podcast, a show. Like, what are you watching? Give us a guilty pleasure, and then give us like something that actually helps you become a better person.
That's a good one. Guilty pleasure I don't do a ton of right now. I wish I had a great TV show for me to say. I'm a sports fan, so I watch sports. I know you hate that. So I'm a sports. I'm a big sports fan. Let's see, book or podcast. What would I recommend right now? 7 Dysfunctions of a Team was a good one.
Okay.
That's a one I've read multiple times. Eckhart Tolle is one that my wife has been pushing down my throat for the 15 years we've been together. And it's great. It just makes you think about things different.
I love that. Okay, last question. You got into tech a long time ago. The world has changed since. And obviously things are going well. But, you know, I asked this question in the realm of would you do it again? Do you think that your career path has been more than the hype?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the hype of owning a company, I think people make assumptions and then there's reality. But I've been able to do things I never thought I could do. And I've given my family a place to start and build from that was not a possibility before I did this.
Okay. Tell the people where to find you. If it's Instagram, LinkedIn, your website, tell the people the info.
So my 2 companies, one is Point Solutions Security. So that's pointsolutions-security.com. And then Point Solutions Group, pointsolutionsus.com. But really connect on LinkedIn. It's my most active social side. I am not Kristin Taylor when it comes to social media, so I'm working on it. But yeah, LinkedIn, and then just my email. And I love connecting with people. So it's just Paige, Paige, at pointsolutionsus.com.
Wow. I appreciate you coming on and being so open and talking. I always love talking to you because I think you just have such a great perspective, and I love how you do business. And
thanks, you too. I wouldn't be invested if I didn't think that.
Thanks. I wouldn't have let you invest if I didn't think that.
Okay, good. Shoo. Glad this is mutual.
Awesome. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode of More Than the Hype. If you love this conversation, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It helps way more than you know. Until next time, stay bold, stay real, and keep chasing the hype.